Hey everyone, it's been a hot minute since I've been around doing the readings. So before I get started on the readings, I wanted to do a quick overview on some astrological things in November that are really important, and I didn't want to have to go over them over and over and over again every time I did a new reading. So it's like I'm going to do it in one shot and do it concise and like power through it. So stick with me, and here we go. So in November, there's a lot of energies happening, and I want people to have as much awareness or tools as possible. So the one thing we have to look at is we do have to just slightly revisit the eclipses, because the energy isn't over with eclipses. Eclipses energy takes place 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after. There's echoes, residuals, hiccups that come back and forth. And so the one thing that's nice is, since you made it through the eclipses and you had the experience of the eclipses, now we can talk about some of the things, the experiences that you have, because they're vital questions that play into November. So as we know, or if you don't, there were 2 eclipses which normally happen in succession in 2 weeks. So you have the solar eclipse first, which is October 14th in Libra. And that one has to do more with like relationships, agreements, balances, alliances. And then 2 weeks later, we had the lunar eclipse, October 28th in Taurus. So Taurus is more like you're looking at like financial survival. And what happens is that's the last one in Taurus that we're going to have for about 9 years. It's the last one we're like linking out. So like the next eclipses that happen in 6 months from now are going to be all in Libra again. So we're kind of leaving Taurus and we're leaving the survival, the basics, the comforts, the financial, a lot of financial stuff. And we're going to be like going more progressive into Libra. Now, if you look back on the eclipse time period, eclipses are like this. You know, when you experience like full moon and the energies can intensify. Well, eclipses are like even like 5 times that. So even if you aren't that affected by the full moons, that's why they say like lunacy and the lunar, and how crime can go up and people are really active during full moons. Talk to police officers, the activity is very much so up. Eclipses even more so. I even know myself, when I was going through these, it was kind of, well, they're intense, so they're not necessarily fun, but for me it's fun to watch how, like, even when I think I have like control or total understanding, and thinking just because I have an understanding of something that I'm I'm not going to go through it, which is not true. So yeah, no, totally went through it. For example, with Libra, you might have noticed with yourself with the beginning, with the around the solar eclipse, that certain levels of types of relationships or things, and sometimes with eclipses there's beginnings and endings and detoxifying. So if there's a level of energies that we're not quite wrapped up, or there's elements of it that needed to detox, it comes to the surface and you think about it even though you don't want to. There were things during that time period I was very, very aware that I was thinking about things and being irritated about things with other individuals, that even though I was aware of it and I didn't want to be thinking that way, I was. So, I didn't get to escape the eclipses. And then when it came around to the Taurus lunar eclipse, you guys might have for yourself noticed something within your security, financial, and had basic moments of, there's elements that you can have with something that happens where you have a kind of an OSHIT moment, And you laugh once you get through it, but it's not fun when you're going through it. Afterwards, you're like, yee. So looking back on that, there's probably certain areas of like relationships and survival, simple things, the simplicities of life and the comforts of life that you were looking at. So eclipses, they intensify, they pressure in like 2 ways. Either you have like tension, like when a string is pulled tight and it's about to snap, the tension, or there's pressure. Like when something's pushing on you and putting pressure on you. Those are like the the ways that the energies come up within eclipses during that time period. And it affects civilization. It affects people as a collective, as an individual, and then as a collective. That's why they're so important. A lot of things happen. And that's why you have the themes. If you really want to know the theme of an eclipse, find out what it's in, like Libra or Taurus that it was this time, and then look up that sign and look up the definitions of the things that that sign normally kind of covers. And so you can do your own research. Now, once again, Taurus is the last one that we had. It's not coming back around in Taurus for another 9 years or so. So good lessons to be learned. So things that eclipses bring forward. And this is important for November because these are questions that are very important coming up. And you should still be feeling some of the things coming off of these eclipses. Now, the one thing that eclipses have is that, like, beginnings and endings and detoxes and what survives afterwards. And then, for example, agreements that can't hold any longer and what remains, boundaries in relationships. I know that for myself, a lot of people feeling like this is just too much. I just can't handle anymore, or I need certain boundaries with people, or certain ones that the boundaries aren't going to be honored, and a lot of times, sometimes friendships and things like that can kind of go, or new boundaries have to be set with the ones that you have. But it's good things to look at and to discuss. It's all in how you handle the eclipses. They can be intense, just like in tarot cards when we have fives. Or we have another intense card. Sometimes you have the Tower card or you have the Death card, and they have intensity to them. Or the Five of Cups. Anyway, you have intensity to them, especially the fives, and it doesn't make them bad. It just means that some things happen or come up that you can't not look at anymore. You can't ignore, look away, be delusional that it doesn't exist. And you really have to pay attention to it. So what also comes up is you find out and you respect limitations. You find a lot of limitations. You can't take anymore too much. I love this one. Moments of punctuation. There's a gentleman that said that, and I thought that was absolutely fabulous. Moments of punctuation. Yes, so much in eclipses. Reality checks. Things, you got to have a sense of humor. And I hope that once you're getting through it, that you have grace to not only forgive other people and their limitations and forgive yourself. Because boy, do we make sometimes really stupid decisions. And you're like, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? And hopefully you didn't spout off at the mouth or get into an argument that you later regret, because sometimes that can happen during eclipses because you're just pushed and people go kind of Looney Tunes. That's why they say full moons. Luna. So there's a quickening, ascending or descending rapidly of energies. And then sometimes people talk about, do eclipses cause events? And I'd like to say, since they amplify people, it'll usually causes people to take action on something. And depending upon what it's in, varies. For example, we found that a lot of things in Gemini, the eclipses that we're having in Gemini a ways back, you had things like Rosa Parks, when she didn't want to sit in the area, was African American or black, I don't know which people want you to say these days, but there was all this horrible stuff where, oh baby, oh honey, he fell down. Oh, you're so sweet. You come back up if you want. Oh, poor baby. Come on. If you feel like it, come back up. So sorry about that. Talk about tripping up. Eclipses tripping everybody up. But anyway, Rosa Parks said, no, I'm not going to sit. I believe it was in the back of the bus. And then everybody got, you will do that. It was horrible. And she said, no more. I'm not doing it anymore. And a lot of times, like in Gemini, there was a lot of other stuff. Nelson Mandela, a lot of things happened with him with eclipses, or right around the eclipses where people take a stand. They can't take it anymore. And there's heroes. There's heroes and there's villains. There's lots of extreme energies, and it depends on what you want to do with it. which can be very exciting to see. And the more awareness that you have in it, and not fear of it. A lot of people preaching so much fear during the eclipses. Oh my gosh, yes, intensity doesn't have to mean fear. It depends on how aware you are and how you're seeing things. You can respect it and take advantage of it. If you'd like to really be aware in it, eclipses are not bad. Okay, so taking action in eclipses, something important is happening. Courageous people taking a stand, making a big change, launching something with visions. There's a collective impression, and then there's individual actions that affect the collective. It all coincides together. Like they say, of course, like astrology is as above, so below. And so what's ever going on with the planets, and then it comes down to the earth, and then you have the continents, and then you have the, keep going down and down and down in the states, and then down and down and down to the individual. And it goes like that, and it goes back up. And the energies do, they mimic and they play out. They play out up there, they play out across the world in different chakra zones of the planet. For example, some areas of the earth, there's areas where, how do I say it? I'm not trying to insult anybody. There are less evolved, not as mature in certain areas. And so when they get triggered, they're going to have more action. And you guys stop. And in other areas, they won't be triggered as much. They're a little bit more evolved, and they won't try to beat each other up and stuff like that. Okay, so let's see. So energies that ignite the collective, and it won't end. Or if it does end, hopefully you're on the right end of it. Because usually by the end of the feeling of the eclipse, truths are going to come forward, because during eclipses there's a lot of hidden agendas and hidden stuff happen that's trying to come out, trying to detox, and we're trying to suss it out. And depending upon how mature we are and how aware we are is going to depend on the choices that we make to address it. So it can be growth, it can be a good thing depending upon where we're at as individuals, as countries, as she's keep going up. All right, so like it said, like a Gemini had a lot of civil rights things going on. We also have like the 19th Amendment, women's rights, all of that, with a lot of stuff going on in that. So what does this mean for you? What does this mean for you? How does it play into November? All right, let's get to that. Okay, so what did you, ask yourself this question. What did you think about, or what did you think about or pay attention to? Stuff that couldn't get off of your mind. It kept repeating, it kept nagging at you, even if you didn't want to think about it, during the eclipse time period, a little bit before, during, and after, 2-week period after. Okay, so what were you giving your attentions to? Libra, what relationships were pulling at you, or saying, I need attention, or alliances? It could be family, could be work. I mean, what were the relationships that like you were really thinking about, and you had like a level, usually it's like it shows itself in a level like irritation, it's nagging at you. Hi baby, come on back. You fall down? I know you fell down. I know, baby, you fell down. You can't lay on that. I know you want to lay on that because it's important, and I'm giving it attention. Why don't you come over here? So Taurus, too, and the Taurus was survival, financial. Did anybody have like uh-oh moments? Or like security or comfort, or, home with unity, and you're worried about it? Stress, worry. How am I going to handle that or survive this? That's Taurus. Okay, so tensions or compression. And it also releases the tensions, but what do you do about that? Once the tension is released, what does that look like? Bringing out the hidden, detoxing, aha moments, looking back at what worked and didn't work, reality checks. Big time reality checks. Forgiveness and healing. I must please emphasize too, forgiving yourself and forgiving others. We don't always behave the best sometimes, and we can lose it, and and not show up that great. So can you forgive yourself, and can you forgive others? Um, did you find things as major problems? And they always say it's never a problem; it's just a challenge. No, sometimes there's problems. But do you have it as a problem or a breakthrough? Because when there's a problem in the world, just like there's inventions made when there's major problems that happen, like depending upon if you go into fear and you just have to blame and try to destroy something, or you can say, oh, let's get creative and future and solution oriented. You know, one is going towards the hate, one's going towards love, one's going towards fear, one's going towards love. It depends on what route, and I'm not trying to judge anybody for what route they take, but that's what happens. You have to, it pushes you to take a path, and November is going to do that too. Okay, so critical, here's what's so critical, is that you really ask these questions. You don't try to ignore it. You don't try to say, oh, it's gone now, I'm just not going to deal with it. Don't do that, because it'll come back. It'll echo, and it'll make you in different ways deal with it. So it's good to deal with it. So one of the first things to do is get your viewpoint. When you ask yourself those questions, what were you thinking about, or what did you pay attention to during that time period was nagging at you usually? What's your viewpoint or your perspective? And that goes to personal responsibility, forgiveness of self of limitations, or feeling like you need to blame someone. Like right now, there's a lot of energies really important with what's going on in November, and with Mars and the Sun, and aspects that the war, and people in lots of different ways trying to get you to be in their war and their battle, because they know that people are getting revved up with that energy right now. And sometimes I have to look over, because sometimes it stops recording my voice and I'm like, oh, I've been talking for nothing. But so you want to have clarity. You want to have your viewpoint and your perspective. You want to have, the next thing is first really get your viewpoint and your perspective by asking those questions. And the next thing is focus with the clarity on your passion, your drive, and your why. Your why is this important to you? Because that old saying is, you give me the why and I'll give you the how. But ask yourself, am I having the question of, I love you so much. Do I have the question of that I feel like I need to destroy something, or that I need to be creative and find solutions? And that's always more towards the love energy. So give the why. Why are you passionate about it? You know, what are you focusing on? And then go into what are your new intentions for action, because the biggest thing in eclipses is beginning and endings. But when an ending happens, what does the new beginning look like, with the new information, the new understanding, humbling, and limitations, and everything that you find out about in a lot of different ways? What's your new focus and your new intentions of how you want to go about it, handle it? And because usually after the fact, you start getting all the energies of, oh, wait a minute, I could do this, I could do that. And sometimes it's great. You find some really great answers when before you're just as afraid as all be. Okay, so go deep. What are you fighting for? And I am using the term fighting because fighting, like when we're talking about Mars and everything, we have a lot of Mars energy going on right now. It can be respectful. It doesn't always have to be like violent. There's lots of ways to fight for something. You've got your feelings, your actions, your words. You know, so you have your why, but how? How am I going to find the solutions and go? You know, move forward with it. Are you going to fight out of hate? Now, here's what's really important. Are you going to fight for the hate of something? Here's the perspective too. For the hate of something, or are you going to fight for the love of, or for something? There's a big difference in that. Just like Mother Teresa used to say, I'll never go to an anti-war protest. I don't remember exactly how she said it, but it's like, I'll never go to an anti-war protest, but I'll go to a pro-peace rally. Right? There's a difference. The difference happens is you get out of being obsessed with the blame and having to feel like you have to destroy something else, instead of saying, what do I love? What do I want to blossom and bring more of? You know, like the flower child and everything. No, let's blossom. Let's bring more of. I mean, you have to be realistic, but you can be inventive and creative instead of thinking, oh, I have to destroy this other thing or this other person or this other, you know, bad them, bad, blah, blah. Instead of saying, well, how do I create new systems or new ways or invent things? I mean, am I going to invent a bomb to annihilate everybody and have huge karma over the earth, or am I going to have new creations and inventions that create solutions for everyone and that we can live harmoniously and you know, just what direction you're going in? And you really have to be honest with yourself. Are you going after things when your Mars is getting ignited for new sun energy? Because there's stuff coming up with Mars that's happening, which is brand new cycles. This is so important. I'm really excited about this because it's really great. Everybody's being really fearful about it, but it's like, no, this is so important. And our intentions of what we do with it right now and our focus in not being derailed, and there's so much attention being drawn on you right now saying, no, come here, we want you to be this way, be that way. Be very aware of how people are wanting you to strike up this new energy that they know is happening within everybody. Everybody is wanting to get involved again, right? And they're trying to draw your attentions how you do it. Please make that be your choice and be very aware about it. And if you're not sure, you can say, I'm not sure, or I don't have enough facts yet, or I don't know yet. And people are like, no, whatever, maybe you got to pick a side, or you got to join us now, or oh, how dare you. I mean, look at all the stuff that people did with COVID and got people against one another. Even, you know, you don't have all the information, this or that, and the things that, oh, my goodness. Did we learn? Did we learn, people? Did we learn from all of that? We'll see. Because a lot of these energies and the things that happened exactly within the eclipse and lunations happened around World War II. So we're revisiting these energies instead of looking at it as, oh no, we're going to do that again. It doesn't mean that. We keep progression as we keep going into the golden age. We progress and we grow with our new choices. It may be similar themes or energies that say, what do you want to do this time? What do you want to do now? How do you want to choose to break up a fight between people? Are you going to be the adult? I mean, even think about that. How have we grown? So it's going to be very interesting to see. So you doing that on an individual level, and then watching too our governments and worldly events to see how people want to choose now. Have we grown up? I don't know. We'll see. Okay, moving forward with things that I want to keep going. Okay, a lot of people trying to ignite you right now. Take advantage of the energies, ignite war, to pick a side, manipulate and lie. There's lies going on. That always happens. Come on, you know where we're living here. Okay, so yeah, they did this during COVID. Now remember, martial arts is like a dance. Sometimes we have bullies, we have things going on. But how are you addressing the fight? How are you working with it? I mean, what does it look like? And the one thing that we know with like the martial arts and the dance and having a clear perspective and passion and focus and not over emotional. Not that you're not impassioned by something, but when you get triggered and over emotional, that's when you can be deceived. That's when people's lies and manipulation can pull on those strings and say, yeah, and you want to believe it. And then you can get caught up in going, gosh, I've done it myself when I was young. And I can't say that I don't do it when I'm older here, but when you commit to something, a certain viewpoint, and then you don't want to back down on it, even though you know you get lied or manipulated too. And so be careful, because there's going to be some, half-truths and not cool total lies being said. And you got to try to be discerning. And even if you think, oh, they're on my team, or, I'm very independent, so I don't like to do teams. Okay, so discernment is critical. People are going to want you to fight their battles. Your belief in something is crucial, critical. The belief, and if you're not sure about your belief, that's okay too. Wait, get more information. Research. Don't be lazy. Please try to do some research and just don't what did they say? Regurgitate somebody else's words like as if they're fact, which a lot of times they're not. I've done it before too, so I mean, it's not like I'm not, what do they say? People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones or something. No, 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 I've got my faults completely. If the facts are uncertain, you can say, I haven't made up my mind yet. I don't have enough information. That's perfectly fine. But you can get clear on your life. It starts with you, because all the energies that you can do in your own responsibilities, in your own forgiving yourself, in trying to pick up the pieces and move forward, is great, and that energetic will ripple. The ripple effect goes below, it goes above, and it'll affect everybody else. Showing grace towards others and their struggles. Yeah, there's and we don't have to throw it in their face when somebody's wrong on something either. It's nobody likes that. Nobody likes to know it all. Hey, baby. Hi. Okay, so where are we going? Where are we going? Okay. So good news of November astrology. You're like, come on, let's get to. But this is all really important. I hope you understand what I'm trying to hopefully point out in the energetics. Okay, so getting back in the game. So we made it through the eclipses. We saw how we were being triggered, ignited. There's a new respect for limitations. There's areas you got your booty kicked, and reality check, and respect for limitations, and got to get active and get moving on some stuff. Getting back in the game, aftershock and echoes of eclipse energy, especially if you're trying to just ignore it and think that it's like gone away and not address certain things, you're going to be affected. Especially during like the 13th and during the Thanksgiving sort of holidays between the 25th and 27th, that's where there's going to be a bit of, I laugh because it's just like it's going to happen, and so there's going to be some people that just lose it and they look really not good. I feel bad for them, and nobody likes a bully. Nobody likes they say like Karens, and what's the male version of Karen? Clark. And anybody's Clark, like, oh no, don't start that. I don't know. So here's what's key is also, can we allow healing and forgiveness? Understanding people's limitations. Look, there's certain cultures, there's certain ways that people don't just change overnight. And what's that saying? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, you can, but it's not always easy. Especially if someone's been dogmatic. There's a lot of very interesting time period too of pushing dogma and religions, and there can be good and bad in all of that. But that's definitely a theme going around with that, and having grace about it. So the one thing that's in November is some of the nice things, really great things, are like Venus is moving into Libra, which is its home. So it's going out of Virgo, which is more restricted and doesn't show as much, a bit more controlled and limited, and now it's coming into Venus moving into Libra, so it's going to have its natural beauty and unity, love of the arts coming home, and so people are going to want to express themselves. I think during this holiday season, of course, we're coming now into Saggy season. Yay, Sagittarius! Not that I don't love Scorpio and all that has to offer. It's just it's hard for people to be brave and really go deep and let all the detoxing and really go into the hidden truths and bring it out and handle it. I love Scorpio for that. Love it. They're brave in a whole way that most of us can't do or have a hard time doing. But now we're coming into the Sagittarius season. And that's what you'll notice about astrology is that each sign when it moves into the next one, there's kind of extremes that one where the very next sign will help balance that out, you know, because then we have very like hopeful and supportive and positive Sagittarius. You know, and I do think because also Libra's going into Venus that people want to express beauty. There are probably going to be more people this year, even though we've had some stressful times, more people wanting to decorate and look at the pretty lights and enjoy it and have levels of beauty and willing to bring the Christmas tree out when some years like, okay, let's try this again. My sound, I need to get a new computer. You know, we're working with what we got here. And if I don't look over and see where my voice is being recorded or not, sometimes it just cuts out and I'm like, oh, great. Also, it is a little hot sometimes. I'm going to have to change that a bit. I mean, the voice is getting a little loud. I'm trying to do the best for you, but it's sometimes limiting, just like we have in life. So moving forward, and I think I said Libra and Venus when I meant Venus and Libra. Let's go forward with everything that we have. Hey, champion. Okay, so we were back talking about Venus moving into Libra and the new area of that. That's wonderful because Venus was in Virgo and that was more limiting in its expression, and it's in its home when it's in Libra. So that means Venus is like beauty, unity, love, the arts, coming home. We were talking about everybody being maybe more expressive and doing their Christmas tree and wanting to do that. You know, like there's some years where we're like, I don't feel like putting any decorations up. I just don't even want to bring all the boxes out. Now, this year, I think that there's going to be a lot more people. Even though we've gone through a little hard times, it's like we need it. And I think the Sag energy and the Venus and Libra and all that's really going to bring it out in people, which is lovely. I do love the sparkly and the pretty and the lovely stuff during the holiday seasons. That's always fun. Okay, so we also have Mars coming into Sagittarius energy. Yes, Sagittarius. Oh, I just love Sagittarius so much. And the great thing is we've got Mars coming the 24th coming into Sagittarius, Mercury on the November 10th coming to Sagittarius, and then it's Sagittarius season. So we're all going into that, and I absolutely love Scorpio, but respect it for what it offers. But I so love Sagittarius. So here we go into Sagittarius, and the great thing is we've got Saturn that's going to balance it out. So Saturn's going to put a check on things, which is a good thing. Saturn turns stations direct, starts to go forward, you know, not that retrograde, and it's already there because it's November 4th, so it's already happened, and it's going into like Pisces, direct in Pisces. So the great thing about that is when you look at those combinations, that's, for example, when you have Pisces, which is like the imagination, but then you have the structure with Saturn, so that's going to bring like AI forward. What a great combination. And it's what you do with it, once again, with all of this stuff. And when people are just constantly doing fear, 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 yeah, sure. Choices can be made based off of fear. Choices can be made based off of flowery love too, and then you can have Saturn checking it, and so it's realistic. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how much we grow up and the decisions that we make. Now, the one thing you have control is decisions on your own life, which will have a ripple effect goes into the community, goes into the state, goes into the, goes up, 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 and all the other decisions being made that we have as a collective. So Saturn's going to keep things in check. And it's a positive combination because with Sagittarius and Saturn, the energetics being there, it's going to be grounded because Saturn also wants to have like hard work and, there's structure and limits. And yeah, there can be death and endings and everything like that. Hi, baby. But it can be in a really good way. With Saturn going direct, it says boundary limitations, pressure tested to see what remains. Look, Saturn can say, someone can be all super positive about something, but Saturn will put it to the test. And if it's not going to last, or it's not going to hold, Saturn's going to find out and show it. And we want the structures, and we want, if we're putting in new systems or this or that, we want it to work. So it's not a bad thing to have it checked. Oh, Okay, so here we go. We're going into new determined strategies from the realizations that we've had. And there's a new oomph into it, the Sag. So Sag, we've got a new kickstart coming in with that. And even though we came from Scorpio, we get clarity of loss, right? That's a beautiful thing with the clarity of loss. I'll keep looking over to see if I'm being recorded and don't have to go back on all of this stuff again. So clarity of loss with truth. Scorpio searches for truth, hidden things, and there's bringing out the fears and detoxing and what we do with that. It can be very positive if we have the courage to really look at it. And Sag has the belief, yay, belief in the supportiveness and the celebration of people and yourself and others. Sag is adventurous and optimistic and positive and a real dynamo and gratitude. And, you know, like they always say, you know, like you can't keep a good Sagittarius down. I mean, this is the people that I absolutely love, 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 love. They're just been the best things in my life, for sure. Let's see. So gratitude, loosen up. You know, loosen up. Let's have hope and spirit and expecting the best. But then the nice thing with, you know, Saturn being around, saying, okay, but let's be realistic too. I mean, it's going to be a nice balance. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So it says Mars enters Sag November 24th. So you still have compromise and sacrifice with that. Okay, which is good to have your checklist. Really good time period right now to write out lists and really get your perspective, right? Your viewpoint, your perspective, your why you're doing something. Are you doing it through hate of something else or love and support of creation of something? And then your how. Like really, like if you can put it on a sheet and do that, it will like highly benefit you. Like if you really want to be successful, you want things to blossom, it's all on what you're focusing on. Focus is so clear right now with everything, especially with what's happening with Mars and the Sun. Okay, and don't let other people grab your focus. It's so important right now. That's why I'm doing this video. Okay, so move forward, ma'am. Okay, so we're going from the fixed signs, and we're getting more fluid now. Towards the end of the month, we're starting to have movement. Now you felt so stuck and like I can't take any more of this. When is it going to end? I can't handle it. Now we're moving forward, literally taking breath, air. So Saturn's coming in, grounded decisions, rules and agreements. What will serve you? Don't be a fool or foolish. You know, Saturn asks these questions. You know, you want to trust yourself, but at the same time ask these questions. What's useful? What's the purpose? You know, what are your values? Meaningful? A deliberate commitment. Don't let people and things lie to you. Be discerning. Okay, so, yep, we're still being recorded. Okay, your outlook. Now here, oh, it's not outlook, it's lookout. Okay, so these are areas to look out on Scorpio, new moon Scorpio, November 13th. Okay, there's two time periods. About November 13th, you know, 14th, 13th, 14th, 15th, like right around there. People are going to be losing their stuff and spouting off and, you know, like, bah, and having to say stuff that maybe they shouldn't. Just that time period, and actually during the travel time period of Thanksgiving, it's not just going to be because it's Thanksgiving and travel. It's like that is like the prime time period. The full moon Gemini, November 27th, and Mars squares Saturn. So, okay, with the new moon in Scorpio, the best way to get through that is clarify someone's intentions. So if someone on the 13th or around there is starting to get an argument or whatever, calmly clarify the intention, because they're elevated, they may feel out of control in their life and they're acting out, but let's just clarify the intentions so we can get there, so we can move forward and we can look at limitations and we can move forward. I mean, take a breath and help either yourself or the other person through the process. They'll appreciate it in the long run. Some people don't, but most do. And that you don't hold it against them. Okay, try not to. Okay, Mars square Saturn, November 25th. So this is like telling stories of people you believe are holding you back from freedom. Mars is so Mars, freedom, Braveheart. Mars doesn't want to be held back. Doesn't want to have rules and regulations and everything. And Saturn is saying, hold on. And Mars is saying, stop holding me down. Stop holding me back. I want my freedom, right? So you get people like coming into the Mercury energy, having to talk about it, or Gemini too, and saying, you know, I don't want to be held down or held back. And okay, so full moon Gemini. Full moon Gemini is interesting. It depends on what people want to do. Now, the negative side of it is the people that are like losing it. Travel's going to look a little messy this year. So, not that it doesn't always in the Thanksgiving time period of travel, but make some extra time this and don't be one of the people that gets like crazy. You guys, and then picking on each other, my kitties. So sometimes people during this time period of full moon Gemini, with every sign there can be positive and negative. So the people that are not handling the pressures of the full moon, remember full moon and the themes of the full moon, and right? Not as bad as eclipses. I don't want to say bad, but intense. But there, you're going to see people that sometimes too, they're going to make truth claims that aren't true. But in their mind, they're thinking that they're moving forward an agenda that they think it's okay to tell the white lies or whatever because it's moving forward in the positive agenda that they're trying to, in their minds telling. But you know, lies, it doesn't help. It doesn't. And it makes it worse. But there's truth claims are going to happen during that time that watch out and you know of what's really true and what's not true. And also, someone really wants to be heard. So sometimes people are just going to be talking because they just feel out of control in their life and they just feel like they're not heard. And so they're going to take opportunities where you're like, why is this person going so crazy? And losing it. But the nice thing about Gemini that we love, the full moon in Gemini, the positive aspect of it, when you just amplify the energy, is you could amplify the curious or the playfulness. So there's going to be like two people during this time period. There's going to be two people that are relaxed and playful and curious and just not going to be stressed out, are going to be in the best Gemini energy. They're so lovely when it comes to that. There's like a youthfulness to that, and it's just like, come on, what's the big deal? Like, come on, you know? And then there's the other people that that are feeling out of control in their lives and the pressure, and they're not able to handle it, and they're going to be losing it in this particular full moon. Please, if there is an area where someone is screaming at a service person, well, let's try to help them out and like squash this like energy of someone being abusive or bullying. We don't need that. Okay, you guys, are you playing that energy over there? You guys, these probably aren't picking up on it whatsoever. Okay, so we're almost done. Okay, so what can you control? You guys, stop. I'm trying to control them. What can you control? You. Pick up the pieces and move on. People trying to get you into their wars, pick a side, whatever that passionate war in their mind they're thinking about. What are people, and here's like, what are people inventing to solve these solutions? Is it destruction or is it levels of agreement? For example, when you're going to break up some sort of fight, how are you going to do it? Are you going to go in there and try to whack somebody? You're going to go in there and try to have agreements and you know, what is that going to look like? Things are going to be invented right now, and they're going to be utilized. But why and how? And is it the best way? Is it the mature way? Have we grown? It's going to be interesting to see. And you can start with yourself. Take a moment. Ask yourself a lot of questions. And if you truly are the adult in Do you have the means, and are you smart enough and clever enough to come about a scenario to work it out, especially when other people are all elevated and emotional and wanting to fight physically and in war mode, and like, like, how do you handle that? How do you, how do we, how do we handle that? Be interesting to see what happens. So here's the last thing, and one of the main things that a lot of people, some are talking about and others are not talking about, and I'm super excited about it, and it really needs to be paid attention to. Mars conjoins the Sun. It's called November 18th. It's called Cazimi. Now here's what's happening with that. Mars every like 2 years goes through like a theme, right, of what you're fighting for. And Mars and Aries and everything like that, they like to use the word fighting. Like I said, how you fight for something can be in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be physical. But how that goes about. And Mars, what it's now doing is it's burning itself out. It's done with its last theme that happens for 2 years. And now we're going into a brand new Mars choosing its focus on what it wants to be passionate and fight for. And everybody can have different things in different houses, but really, and we'll talk about that in another video, but you ask yourself, really focus right now on what do you want to fight for, and are you trying to fight against someone or for something positive? That's what's so important right now, because there's tons of people and things right now really wanting to get you into fear and go that route. Whenever we get really into fear, we got to blame something. We got to make something a big enemy, and we stop thinking about different ways of solutions that don't maybe involve a violent means. We've got to be able to keep our minds open, and how and are we maturing ourselves in the solutions that we're trying to figure out. And it really is your perspective and your why, so that you have the how. It's getting organized on that. And here's what I really want for everybody. Now that we've got it's being purified and strengthened, it's new focus, new vision with the Sun. Mars coming to the Sun, conjoins. It's so important. So your clarity of intention. What are you striving for? What's your true intention? Is really important, because Mars is resilient. Mars is going to have this oomph level of new energetic energy to go out for its next fighting for something. And people are going to try things. People are going to try to get your energies to fight for their thing. Careful with that, because you're already going to be elevated and wanting to get that going again, and feeling like, yeah, I want to get in the ring again. I want to fight for something. And there are institutions and people and things that know that's happening with people right now, and so they're trying to manipulate you and get you over here and get you over there. I just want you to be aware of that. So Mars right now is going to lock into desires. We know what we want, and we're going to stick with it. And it's going to go through a 2-year process. So a lot of things that if you commit to certain things, you're not going to want to back out. And it can be sometimes even that old energy that we just, went through with COVID. Like certain people had, on both sides of stuff, had crazy, aggressive, both ways energies, and then they both didn't want to back out or have compromise or anything, or be willing to say, maybe I was a little off in that or that, or what have you. And we don't want to have that. We don't want to have the misuse in Mars. And I really do apologize if my sound is a little hot. I might need to turn it down in post, because that's annoying. So resilience, discernment, don't fight for lies, manipulation. Really figure out what is real, and what you're going to put your obligations towards, yes or no. So there's things for your own life and your own passions. Every sign is going to have different things within different houses. But if you ask yourself enough questions and you really look back on the eclipses and some of the energies that really were brought forward, calmly, lovely, respectfully, with grace and forgiveness and understanding. Also understanding the new limitations and a new level of maturity. How are you going to go about it with your new focus? Your focus right now of your why to your how is so important right now. It's going to set the pace for a lot of that for the next 2 years. And those energetics are going to go into the collective. And it's going to affect everybody too. So I'm very excited, and I have no idea how all of that's going to turn, or what decisions and course we're going to make. But we're at the beginning of all that new energy again. We are right at the precipice of the focus. So I'm offering that up to you, and I'm really excited about everything. There's so much potential right now. There's so much potential. And I just don't want people to be in so much fear. I want them to be in solution and creation and love. And not that we can't get a little, I'm not all, how do they say, like unicorn farts and stuff. Like, I'm not all that. But you could see, of all the things that I talked about, I'm not going to reiterate it. Hopefully there was things that within my notes and everything in the observations that I had, hopefully that's helpful for you. But really write out your notes if you can for yourself, and get clear on your focus and of what you really want. And it'll ripple out to everybody else. Start with yourself. I'm not trying to say be selfish, but really you always, that whole thing with the mask coming down from the airlines, like, get your air on yourself before you, try to help everybody else. And we can help each other, and we will help each other. But you need to get calm and focus on yourself first, not go crazy. Have some level of forgiveness for others right now, because there's going to be a bit on around the 13th and around the 25th through the 27th, 28th. There's going to be a little bit of some people getting crazy, really spouting out, making fools of themselves, being aggressive. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I'll let you go. I hope this have been helpful for you, and look towards the readings that I will have next. Thanks so much. I so appreciate your time. Trying to be of service. Okay,